Page 11, Notation Melodies. I'm starting at this page in this book because all the prior pages just lead you up to here. They're teaching you about music notation. I'm not really here to teach you music notation per se. We'll cover it all in the videos as we go through the rest of the book. But this is the first page where you have notes in a staff that we can play. So I want to cover those. On the previous page, on page 10, you see they show you the grand staff, and all of these symbols are important, and you have to know them all, but we're going to be using them so much, and I talk about them so much, hopefully you'll just learn them, if you don't know them already. If you know them, this will be a good review. But in these notation melodies, I'm going to talk about those. The symbols that you see on these pages, or on this page, and these lines of music, somewhere over here, starting with the first one. There's two columns here. There's 6 of these total lines, 2 columns of lines. The lines on the left side of the page are for the right hand, that makes sense, and the lines on the right side of the page are for the left hand. Don't ask me why they switched them. I ain't going. These music teachers, you never know what they're thinking. I'm going to start with the right hand stuff. Actually, I'm going to start with the first line. And so it's the right hand on this first one. When I look at a piece of music, there's certain things I just have a habit of looking at. You'll develop a system or a style of when you see a piece of music, you look at certain things in a certain order, and it becomes your style. So since I'm leading this operation, we'll use my style. Now what I do is I look at the staves. Notice the clefs. The top one has a treble clef, that curly thingamajigger, or a G clef. The bottom one has the bass clef, or an F clef. Then we have the numbers, the 4 4s, that's the time signature. That tells us that we have to count to 4. And that we're going to count quarter notes, because if you're going to count something, you need to know what you're counting. And the bottom 4 means quarter note. It refers to quarter note. In somebody's mind at some time, it makes sense after you've had a few glasses of wine or something. So in this first one, now you have to know where the note on the staff corresponds to the note on the piano. Well, the note on the staff, the first note there is C. It's middle C. It's an important note. Well, they're all important, but you're going to see middle C a lot. Now, on a piano, there's a lot of C's. They're all over the place. That's the beauty of a piano, is you only have to memorize 7 keys, and they're the first 7 letters of the alphabet, and you memorize them according to their location with the black keys, using the black keys to tell you what the white key is. So a C is a group, the bottom of a group of 2 black keys. You just find 2 black keys, and then it's a C. Simple enough, I guess. It is if you've done this a million years, it is. Well, middle C, that note on the staff, there's only one C on the piano that corresponds to that. So it's pointing out which C they're talking about. And that is the C that is close to the middle of the keyboard. Now it's not called middle C because it's close to the middle of the keyboard. It's called middle C because it happens to be in the middle of a grand staff, and I'll get to that later. Don't let why it's called middle C get to you. That's not important right now, all right? So that first note is middle C, which corresponds to here. Well, the number right above it, that little one, that's a finger number, because the fingers are numbered. 1 is the thumb. Both hands work the same way. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we tie it all together. We want middle C here, and we're going to play it in the right hand with the thumb. That's the first finger here. Now when I do this, once I do this, I just kind of put the rest of the fingers on the other keys next to it. Here. You don't have to push them down. I do because I like to make noise. And that's where the hand is going to go for this part. So the next note is a D. You need to know that. It's a D, and it is this D on the keyboard. It's right above middle C, and it's in the middle of 2 black keys. Going to play it with second finger. Comes in handy because my second finger's on it. So I got those 2. Well, the next note is an E. The bottom line on that treble clef staff thingy. And that is the E on this E on the piano. And that is the note right above the 2 black keys. And it's played with the third finger. You see the 3? So it works out. So those first 3 notes are the here, here, and here. And if you go to the next measure, a measure is the distance between those vertical lines. So then it starts with an E, and then a D, and then a C. And yes, you need to know the letter names, because I talk about them a lot, and if you don't know them, you're going to be lost. So memorize them. I don't know there are crutches available. There are many YouTube videos that teach you how to read music, so go watch them. And I suggest you watch multiple ones, not just one and let it be. Go find others and watch those too. So now we go on after that part, and now we get a C again. This is the third measure over, where you got 4 of these notes. And you got the D, and then the E, and then the D, and then the last measure is at C. So we're actually using these 3 notes in this piece. Go ahead and leave these other fingers on here. You use them eventually, but right now this is all this used. Not too shabby. Now we add the rhythm. Love the rhythm. Gotta love it, yeah. Those are quarter notes. Most of these things, that solid black dot with a line, that's a quarter note. That's what we're counting in the 4/4 time. We're counting quarter notes. Well, in 4 beats to a measure, we're going to count it 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. It just keeps repeating itself for each measure. And we're counting quarter notes. So if I go 1, each of these is a quarter note. So it's like 1, 2, 3, and then they have that squiggly thingy, that silly looking thing. That is a quarter rest. It is like a quarter note, except you play it by being quiet. You play the rest by being quiet. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. You're resting on 4. No sound. You lift up. Nothing. And then you keep going. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the next one, they're all quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that last measure, that circle, that's a whole note. And that's the same as 4 quarter notes. So we're going to hold it down for 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then lift up. And that's the counting. So once you know what notes you're playing, you know what fingers you're using, you know how to count it, we're pretty much ready to try it out. And that's what it is. It's that. Now go to the left hand. Go over to the next one is for the left hand. It's the same thing we just did in the right hand, but now we're using the left hand, we're using the bottom staff, so we're using these bass clef notes. And that first note is middle C. You'll notice it's above the staff with a little line through it, and middle C in the treble clef is below the staff with a little line through it. I'll come back to that later, keep that in mind. So we're thumb on that middle C there in the left hand. All the other fingers are going to go next to it, and we do this. So we have the C. Forget the counting and all that. Let's get the notes first, one thing at a time here. The notes first. We have a C, and the next note is a B. You need to memorize that. It's right there. It's at the top of a group of 3 black keys. And then the next note is an A. See, that's in the middle of 3 black keys, but it's the upper middle. We got lower middle and upper middle, so this upper middle. So the third note is an A. We got that quarter rest again, not interested in that right now. So those are the notes we're using in this whole line, is these 3 notes. You just leave the other fingers on there. We'll get to them eventually. So for the left hand, if we add the rhythm and we play it, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to rest on 4. Then 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Lift up. There. Or I say off. Means lift up. And that's that line for the left hand. Let's go to the next line. Over on the left hand side of the second line, it's for the right hand side, right hand again. Left, right. Oh, yeah. This one has treble clef and bass clef again, like we had before, but now it's got 3/4. So now we're only going to count to 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. But we're still counting quarter notes because there's a 4 on the bottom. So you see at the beginning there, it starts in middle C with a thumb. So we put here, first let's just get the notes. We got a C, and the next one is a D is the next one. And the next note is an E. And we're done with that measure because you only get 3 notes, 3 beats in a measure. So now we go to the next measure, that's an F. And then the next measure is another F. And then an E and a D, and then you end on a C again. Those are the notes. We're using 4 notes this time. Ooh. Let the little finger be there. It doesn't want to be left out too much. The second measure on that F, it's a circle with a line with a dot. I'll explain it in detail later. Right now, just know that is a half note with a dot. We call it a dotted half note. And it gets 3 counts here. It's the same as 3 quarter notes. It's like the whole note up above was 4. Well, this is 3, and that comes in handy because there's only 3 beats in a measure. We can't use a whole note here because a whole note would be 4, and that's too many. We're not allowed that many beats. So we got to use a dotted half note, and that's what that is. So all we're doing is holding that down for 3 counts. So at the beginning of this second line here, it's like here, it says 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and don't get confused with the counting and the finger numbers. 2 different things. That 1, 2, 3 you see in the music, that's finger numbers. That's not counting. So forget that. Once you know what fingers you're using, you don't have to pay attention to those finger numbers anymore. Just kind of put them mentally aside here. So here it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Hold it down for 3 counts. 1, 2, 3, and then go on. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and off. And that's the second line for the right hand. Let's look at the left hand side. The second line in the left hand, same notes as we had before, except we're adding another note. So you're starting out with C, and the next one is a B, and then you have an A. Now they've added this next note. That is a G. It's in the middle of 3 black keys. It's the lower middle one, a G. And you're doing that with 4th finger. And then you're going back up with the G, the A, and the B, and the C. Those are the notes. Now let's get the rhythm, the counting. Quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, and then a 1 here. 1, hold it down for 3 counts. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Like so. And then you lift up after 3 counts. That's the second line. Let's look at the third line in the right hand. We're back to the first few notes. We've already had those, but now we're adding that in the second measure. We're adding that G. That is a G. We're going to use 5th finger. Finally, all the fingers are involved. We already know where G is. It's in the middle of a group of 3. It's the lower middle of a group of 3. They're all G's. Anywhere you go on here, they're all G's. Yay team, love the G's. But of all these G's on the keyboard, there's only one that matches that G, and that is here. It's still sort of in the middle, but it's above middle C. Middle C is here. You got to go up G. So at the beginning we got our hand is still here, and we're playing the C, then the D, then the E. You should be able to name these notes. It's important. That's part of practicing this, is saying the notes to yourself. There's an F, and now a G, and then a G, and then an F. Remember, the F is at the bottom of a group of 3. I don't think I said that before. I meant to, I just didn't. E, D, and a C. So we're using all these notes. And then the counting. Well, if you look at the numbers, we're 4/4 time again. So we're going to count to 4 again. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Got to hold it down for 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then go on. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I didn't do that very well, because when you count, it's important to count even. Regular counting. And I kind of speed up and slow down, speed up and slow down. But that's the idea. Now let's look at the left hand. This is the last line on the other side, the right hand side. You're starting out with your middle C like we had before, and then we have a B and an A and a G. Now we get an F, new note. We've already had F, we had it up above. On the treble clef we had an F. It's at the bottom of a group of 3. There's an F. We're going to use 5th finger for that. And then the notes go back up. Counting wise, again, quarter notes and whole notes, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, off. And if you were counting that and reading this, and you get to the next measure and you said 5, you're counting finger numbers. Don't. It's confusing, because we got a lot of numbers in music, and they're used to just stay focused. They're not showing you the counting here. They're just showing you finger numbers. If you look on the previous page, on page 10 at the bottom, those numbers in between the stabs, that's counting. They're showing you the count there. So not here. So I don't know that we really need to go through and play that. I like to do a play with me on the videos where you play along with me, but I'm going to skip it for here. You can go through this page yourself. But after this video, I'm going to do a play with me with each of the videos. So that should cover. If you have any questions, put them in the comments down below. If you have a YouTube account, if you don't have a YouTube account, you can't comment. However, I'm leaving my Twitter information in the description, so you can tweet me a question if you need to. I'm also providing the email for this channel in the description. You can email me if you need to.